This is a story about how to use Excel to make a plot, how to make a fit line in Excel, and also how Excel is annoying. So this is some data I've got. It's taken from some college students, their height in inches, and so they just stood up and we measured from their feet to their head, and then what their shoe size was in European. So European shoe sizes go from about 10 to 50, and I don't know what those mean. So like a size 10 and a half seems to be about a 44, and I only know that because I have a pair of cross-country ski boots that are sized that way. So the question is there a relationship between the height of a person and their shoe size? So I've got the data in Excel. I want to make a graph to illustrate the relationship and see if there's a relationship. So the only kind of graph I ever really make is a scatter graph, which is right here. Sometimes it's called an XY graph. If I click on the points, you can see that it comes from here. Now, this is actually a pretty crappy graph as it is because I don't know what this axis means. I don't know what this axis means. Let's see. So, number one, I can add some titles to the axes. So this axis, based on the scale, is height in inches. This axis right here, based on the numbers I see, must be Euro shoe size. I don't know what the units are, so I'm just going to put a question mark in there. Then I should probably give it a title. And then finally, I don't know if this scale is great. Most people have a shoe size that's about 30 or bigger, unless they have really dainty or child-sized feet. So you can change the scale of the data. So I'm going to change it so it goes from 30. Oh no, this would be the height. So let's see, let's go from about 40 inches to 80 inches. Sure, that's fine. And let's also change this scale so it goes from a size, maybe a size 30 to a size 50, 55. Great, thank you, Excel. So there's all my data. So now, if I want to see if there's a relationship, one way of doing it is to calculate a correlation. Not going to do that. Another way of doing it is to insert a fit line. So if I push this button again, I can click trend line, and you never want to have a line without describing it with an equation. This is a linear line, and I should be able to specify that it's linear, and if I need to set the intercept at 0, I can. I always want to know the equation, and I generally want to know the r squared. Not always, but generally. So there you go. Now, here's the only problem with this. I don't know what y is. I don't know what x is. I don't know what the units of 0.47 are, and I don't know what the units of 8 are. So this fit line is not a math model. It's not real. It's just the math line that describes these points. So if I wanted to make this into a real equation, I would probably say shoe size right there equals 0.47 shoe size per inch times, I wouldn't use x, I would use height plus 8.17 shoe size. So I guess one way to interpret this is that you get half a shoe size for every inch you are tall. Huh, maybe that's true. One problem with this data is that this point is included. This seems like a very strange point. A very short person with very big feet. So you could make an argument that this shouldn't be included. But for now, I'm just going to leave it like this. Also, an r squared of 1 means perfect agreement between the data and the line. An r squared of 0 is no agreement. So this is mediocre agreement, I would say. That's it. So here's a little bit more. As I showed you before, there's this graph in Excel. Here's how I would turn that into a real description of the world. So shoe size equals 0.47, and 0.47 has units, shoe size per inch. And then the variable that's horizontal is height. Remember? So height measured in inches plus 8.17, and that's shoe size units, I guess. The other thing that makes this a better story is that here is a person. I don't know why it just zoomed in. Here's a person. Here's their shoe. Here's their height. Remember the story about how tall my dog is, right? It depends on what you're measuring, and you want to make that as clear as you can with other people. All right, that's it.